Good morning, Adrian. So excited to catch up with you this morning. Thank you so much for your time. Well,
Heck,
it's
great to be here, dude.
great to see you. It's morning for me and it's afternoon for you. You are in the Greater Melbourne area and I'm actually in Redhill, just south of London. So I've seen you interview many interesting people, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to have a few minutes with you and get to hear and see what the great Adrian Lee thinks about. Okay, so are you ready for this, Adrian?
Dude, I'm excited, dude. I'm pumped.
Excellent. So Adrian, you now live in the Greater Melbourne area and you moved from Shepparton about 14 years ago.
Yeah.
At the time, you were working in hospitality. However, you'd already qualified as a PT. How was it in those days balancing the two jobs, Adrian?
Great question, man. So I think the transition from the country town of Shepparton, moving to Melbourne for opportunity and kind of reboot my life of, trying to find myself, when you're in your early 20s, like, how old are you, Heck?
I am now 54.
Dude. So like, when you're in your early 20s, you're trying to find yourself, dude, and work out what it is that you want to do with life. And yeah, so I came to Melbourne in the early days, and because I was comfortable and confident in hospitality, well, of course I'm going to, go to what I know, and that was hospitality. So I come to Melbourne and I started working in hospitality, and I was actually doing PT as well. So I was doing face-to-face PT part-time. I actually went back and redone my certificates as well. So updated them.
Yeah.
And I started working in Fitness First in Melbourne, in the CBD. And that was great. Loved the CBD. I had, a cafe job there as well. And I loved training people and loved training myself. But I don't know, there was something else that was missing from my life and I couldn't put my finger on it. I wasn't really, I was happy, but, I was maybe, relationships and things weren't going too well and trying to find myself and all that. And so spent a couple of years in hospitality. And I was like, you learn a lot of things in hospitality, especially building relationships, connection, learning how to speak to people, and you get to see and experience different types of people, right? So you get good at building relationships and connecting, all that good stuff. But so I think it was in the early days I was in hospitality, and then I progressed out of hospitality because I just had enough of it. I was just like, I'm done with these hours, and I just had enough, man. It was like, what was it? I think it was about 10 years or something in hospitality on and off, as well as working, other different jobs. But then I got into construction, and that's where I was only, in all honesty, dude, I was purely in it for the money.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like the work wasn't fulfilling. I wasn't like, living my purpose as such.
Yes.
As you start to really dive into it, you're like, you know what? Why am I just doing it for the money? I'm not happy what I'm doing. I love moving. So, construction, moving around, getting your steps up and all that great stuff. Meeting people was great, but there was just something that wasn't, I don't know. I just didn't know what it was. But all my life, my dad, he knew what he wanted from day dot. He was a carpenter. He was a builder. I remember he would, come home from work and he'd be excited about the next day. And I'm like, dude, how are you excited about going to work, man? I'm like, I hate my work, my job and that. But he'd found what his purpose was.
He found his
and
calling.
For him, it was, he found his calling. And he said to me, he's like, I love, creating something for someone, like a house that they're going to live in, and then experience that feeling with them as we're going through the process, and also when I've completed the job.
Yeah.
And they're super happy. You know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, And then, yeah, I sort of, everything that Dad sort of showed me along the way, having a routine and a structure and boundaries in your life, Adrian, get up at this time, go and get yourself a job, or go to work and, make your own money and buy your own car, and, basically you look after yourself as soon as you can.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's how it started, but we can go more into it.
Wow. I love it. Yeah. Thanks for that. That's great. Reminiscing on how it went with your dad and those early things that you learn, and you start getting some guidance, things start falling into place. That's just great. As you said, you moved into construction, and it really wasn't your thing. You'd been a PT since you were 19. So you've obviously been balancing both things together. Now, we've discussed in the past, in-person training has its charm, and in fact, you've alluded to it before. Why do you feel nowadays, for example, here in the UK, we're just coming out of lockdown and gyms are just started to open up again? Why do you think, as an online trainer, you're able to offer even a better service, Adrian?
Great question, man. I think first we kind of need to look at and respect both types of, whether it's online or in person. Firstly, there's a place for everything. So in person, there's people out there, they want to go to a trainer. And I recommend to certain clients, hey, go and see a personal trainer first up, get the understanding of the body and the movements and the exercise and the technique and all that stuff, right? And then once you've got that down, right? Once you've got that down and you know how to do the exercises, and maybe you're traveling and you can't always be at the same trainer all the time, and you kind of look at the end of the day, if you can have someone in person to hold your hand forever, great. And that works for you, awesome. However, if you have a bit of a schedule where it's kind of, sometimes you can't get to your trainer or whatever, what are you going to do? You don't have someone there holding your hand, right, through everything. So that's where the online world can, be a good fit for you, because providing you're working with the right person and the right coach, and also it depends on your goals and whatever, we all know that. Yeah. But essentially it can be great because it's more flexible for most people. Yeah. And what I've found is there's a big difference between training people in person and online. So firstly, in person, you're there, you can cue them, you can, make sure that they're doing the right exercises so they're safe, and they're created for their body structure as well. Right. So not everyone should be doing a bar squat, for example. Yeah. Right. Even though a squat's a great exercise, but a bar squat might not be the best for everyone, and their structure and the way they're made. Right. So therefore, it comes down to, with the online training, you have to program safer exercises for people as opposed to cueing them in person. Right. And that being said, you're able to help more people online because you're able to leverage your time and resources. So that's why there's been a huge amount of, there's been a lot of people come into the online space, especially trainers, because they're seeing how they can, leverage their time for money. So if they have to travel, which I did as well. So, and I circle back around to that, what I was doing when I was progressing from, the construction industry into face-to-face again in corporate. But essentially, if you can train from anywhere, you can still have a program online and also get the right guidance and support online. It's great for some people, especially if they're traveling or they're busy or they just want to follow something.
It will give an option. If you can't get to a gym, it might give you the perfect support to actually be coached and to improve your fitness without physically being able to go to the gym because of your circumstances.
Spot on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I like the perspective about how some people will actually benefit from that face to face and getting the mechanics and getting that original, that initial training and an idea how things are done properly. I think that's a very good insight, Adrian. Really do think so. Now, I know you're big on nutrition, and I've seen your posts on food, and you believe that nutrition is absolutely paramount. That said, I also know that another thing very big with you is mindset, and you recently made a great post on mindset. Now, how do you think, Adrian, mindset affects our fitness journey? How do you think it's involved in our fitness?
Dude, that's an epic question. I think first and foremost, I think it's the conditioning that we've had maybe since a past experience that then can hold us back from whether we stay active or not. So, for example, mum and dad were very active. Therefore, from an early age, it was ingrained in me to naturally be more active because I would go and watch mum play tennis every Saturday. She would play in the afternoons. She would play during the week. She loved it. She used to call herself Martina Navratilova. She thought she was a bomb, right? Martina, she loved it. Anyway, so they were very active. So in that regard to mindset, my mindset was in the early days to stay active. And I did, and I trained hard. However, during the early days, I also learned that two things were very important. One, your sleep habits, and two, what you put in your mouth. So I was training early days before up to probably 28. I was training 5-6 days a week, training the bro split, upper body, all like chest, back, arms, legs, the typical bro, some abs and conditioning maybe. And I didn't really understand stress because, as we know,
you were 28, you were 20 something.
If you don't sleep well, that's a stress. If you don't eat well, right, in a certain way that helps you manage stress, that's a stress. If you train and increase the inflammation in your body and you're not recovering, that's a stress. Then what happens? Your body starts breaking down. Young man, body breaking down, becoming more susceptible to colds and flus and injuries. Shit like that. Yeah, excuse my language. Injuries. So then I was like, so I'm active. I'm probably holding a little bit more body fat than I really want. So my diet is probably not in check. Am I sleeping as well? No, probably not as sleeping as best as I could. So these are all lifestyle factors that we don't really take into account. So yeah, that was the start of the fitness for mindset. So I think your past experiences, sort of circling back here, some of your conditioning and how you've been brought up or how you see things from your, as Jamie said yesterday, your unconscious mind can really hold you back. And that held me back for a long time. Heck, wow. My mind held me back for a very long time because I had negative associations, whether it was through relationships, whether it was through training, whether it was through finances, how I looked at money, my mindset, having a fixed mindset around things. I had to start growing. So everything that, we talk about and evolve, because we learn the most and we grow the most through our challenges, right? So most people, you go.
Yeah, no, I love it. You mentioned before, I love the way how you mentioned the idea of growth mindset. And that was really, you sort of walked onto my next sort of question in regards to mindset, is how can we sort of develop that growth mindset? And why do you feel that is so important?
Dude, I think first and foremost, you can't help others until you help yourself first. So as an example, when I was first started in the online training journey, it was when my dad died. So you asked me, when did I start on LinkedIn? Well, I really started around when Dad died. That was what really just like flicked a switch in my mind. And I was like, life's so short. What am I doing? I'm unhappy. I'm not living my life with purpose. What do I need to do? And I remember I was sitting in, I was a safety rep on a building site. And I was getting to that leadership kind of management sort of role. And I was looking at these guys and the way they managed and all that. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you're not looking after yourself. You're not treating yourself like an athlete. If you want to lead others, you've got to lead yourself first, which means you've got to walk the talk and also think outside. You've got to be able to manage stress. You've got to be resilient. You've got to help others, And I started to really do a lot of self-development. So I started working on myself. And funnily enough, one of the first books that my mother-in-law gave me. So my mother-in-law, Leeway Fitness started at a dinner table by my mother-in-law, who is a very, very, very successful financial planner here in Australia. So she's in the top 5 financial planners in Australia.
Wow.
Right. Very smart lady, entrepreneur since day dot. She built her own, empire and all that. And she really inspired me. She's like, why don't you call it Leeway Fitness? And that's how it started.
Wow.
And
it was crazy. That is great.
But she gave me a book called, have you heard of The Secret?
The Secret? I don't think I have. No, I haven't. I'll make a note of that. Who's it by, Adrian?
I can't remember. It's been a while since I've read it. But basically, what The Secret is about is calling on the universe, basically to help you, not give you more of what you want. Yeah. So, for example, right? It's like I wish. It's like you're putting a wish out into the universe. Now, don't quote me on this either, dude. It's been a while since I've read the book, but basically, you tell yourself that you're already where you want to be.
Yeah.
Right. So I used to say this little tune every morning, and I still say it. And it's not so much about the affirmation as such. It's more about the action that you take and the positive energy that you bring yourself every day. Right. So I used to get up even when I didn't feel like it. And I was going through that hard times in construction where I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to be living the life of freedom on my terms. And you know what really stuck with me was when I had to ask for permission to go and see my dying father.
Wow.
Is it okay if I take a couple of days off to go and see my dad? Like that right there is why I do what I do. I do not want to have to ask for permission for anything in life.
Yeah.
I want to live life on my terms because it is so short, dude.
Yeah. That's very, very powerful sort of thought there. Yeah, very powerful insight. Thanks ever so much for sharing that with
dude, that's a mindset shift that I had over that time. So I used to get up every morning. I would say, dear universe, I'm living in abundance of health, wealth, and love. Thank you. And I would say that every day.
Would you say that was sort of like you'd call that a sort of affirmation in the morning to give you that sort of positive state? And would you say you'd do that again, part of your morning routine? You'd get up very soon as you got up, and that's one of the first things you'd actually utter to yourself.
Yeah. Now I say it to Charlie every day.
Yeah.
Right.
How is Charlie, by the way? I wanted to ask you, Adrian. How old is Charlie now?
He's nearly 10 months.
Wow. So 10 months, another couple of months in the summer be his first birthday.
Yeah.
How exciting. That was a big year for you last year, having Charlie and moving on to a different plane. That's very, very exciting. I've got we get into the end. I've got a couple of questions here for you, Adrian. And
dude, 20 minutes has flown.
Pardon? It's amazing, isn't it? It's great when you're having fun. It's just absolutely amazing. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was you've had some coaches in the past, and obviously they've helped you very much to get where you are now. Do you want to just share with us a coach that comes to mind, that you think about, you refer to, that really got you on your journey, Adrian?
Yeah. So I first hired a fitness business coach when I was working in construction. And one of the smartest things, and like, I'm going to sort of go around about here and come back in, but
Absolutely,
I'll go out in the weeds.
Absolutely. As you wish, Adrian. That's fantastic.
So I hired a fitness business coach when I was working in construction, who I'd seen and looked at content for the last few years on YouTube. So his name was Chris Dufay, right? So that was back in 2015, 16, I think. Don't quote me on that. Around that, 2015. Yeah, around that. And so I booked a call, obviously, and I started working with Chris. And the reason I joined with him was because he was living the life that I wanted. He wasn't one of those entrepreneurs that was like, you know, a multi-millionaire, and like, it was just like, for all I know,
untouchable in the sense. Yes.
Yeah. He was in front of where I wanted to be. He was a few steps ahead of me. He was fairly, you know, far ahead of me, and he'd done what I wanted to do. So I thought, you know what, this dude seems pretty cool. I'm going to sign up. So I started working with Chris, and that's where the journey happened. So Chris, I think everything that I learned through Chris was a lot around mindset, was a lot around, of course, you know, the tools and the frameworks and the systems for training, right? But essentially being able to use that and then make it better for yourself, right? So Chris, you know, showed me the way. And then I obviously started working with Chris in the Coaches Cartel as I started to progress and learn and evolve. And I evolved reasonably quickly. So I'm super grateful for that opportunity that Chris gave me in the very early days, because that's what basically, you know, moved me forward. And then I was like, cool. So I'm doing this stuff with Chris, but also I started to check out this other guy as well. And he was very much about optimizing your daily routine, your structure, your day. And I was like, shit, this is what I need. I need to, you know, if I'm going to be working a full-time job and I'm trying to do this online, build this thing, which at the time was very much a hobby as such. And to be honest, not many people really believed in what I was doing. I told mum, and I told dad, knew at the time. This is, you know, before dad passed. And obviously my wife, Alan, she's like, just didn't have belief in me. So basically I was like, all right, looks like I'm on my own, and I'm going to have to surround myself with some winners here, because you can't do this stuff alone. Like, you know, transformation, it doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when you surround yourself with people on the same journey, because, you know, you can learn from each other. Hey, what's working for you? What's working for you? What's not working for you? Great.
I love that quote. I'll just repeat that. Transformation doesn't happen in isolation. That's a one-liner which I absolutely love. Excellent.
Yeah, dude, it's I'm firmly believe that. And so, yeah, that journey started. I obviously met some awesome people through the Coaches Cartel, awesome coaches that, you know, we still hang out and sort of chat and catch up and all that good stuff. But the coach that I hired during that time as well was Craig Ballantyne. And Craig really like helped me with my structure, what I focused on, my daily routine, setting boundaries in my life, and also, like, you know, being ruthless with your time.
Yeah.
Because so many people waste time. And when you don't have, look, when you are trying to build something and you've got that minimal time to use to focus on it, because you know, and by the way, if you're watching this right now and you're trying to build an online business, make sure that you stay working full-time as long as you can, like, or even part-time, because that's going to support your journey. Because investing in yourself and coaches and whatever resources and, you know, tech stuff, you know, all adds up. So that's why I always recommend to people to stay long as you can until you can then go, all right, I'm good to go and fly myself now.
Yeah, once you've actually proved that you've got a system that's working, you've got something sort of regular, you can really see that you're ready to fly from the nest. I think that's a good bit of advice, actually. I think that affects myself, as many people. And I think that's a really good bit of advice, and I'll take that personally on board. That's great. That is great. I know in regards to business, you've also set up your VA service, which I thought was really, really interesting. Adrian, do you want to explain a little bit how that works?
Yeah, so basically I think I learned, look, in the early days, I learned from probably the most well-respected veterans of the industry that most people might not be looking at. One person that comes to mind, obviously a couple of people, you've got Chris, you've got Craig Ballantyne, you've got like Bedros Keuilian, you've got like Jay Ferrugia, like those guys from the States have made a huge like indirect impact in my life because I've taken action from each of them.
Yeah.
And one of the, and today I had this like, and I'll share it with you just quickly in a sec, but dude, the more action you can take that is imperfect, the faster you will grow, right? Because imperfect action leads to momentum, which leads to more momentum and action. And what does that do? It helps you refine what's working and what's not working faster, right? So that's why in the early days, first and foremost, I built up an email list. So I built up connections where I could email them regularly and they could get to know me and I could nurture them over time through my email. And the second thing is that Craig taught me was, why are you working on those $10 an hour tasks that are not going to really move the needle for yourself and your business? So that's where I started to learn how to delegate really fast. So then I hired my first VA a few years ago and I started to learn a system. So basically, you know, we have a LinkedIn system and then we automate it. We've optimized it and made it better, but we automated it through human automation, through virtual assistant. And then, you know, people just wanted help with, you know, LinkedIn and engagement and things like that. And that's how it evolved. Brilliant. Because I was already doing it.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's another thing you've added to your armory of business, which is just brilliant. I wanted just to finish, Adrian, with obviously fitness, which is going back to fitness, which is close to your heart. And just imagine you had someone in their 40s, which is really thinking about making a change, moving on the right path, and you were going to give them some advice. What are the 3 things you'd advise this guy that really now realizes he needs to improve his health? You've got about 3 things to try and put him on the right path.
Great, dude, this great question. I think just kind of an overview of everything. Start small, win small, and build momentum. So if you're 40 years old, for example, right? So always start small because it's easy to implement and you're more likely to stay consistent with it because it's easy. Right. And that way, when you start seeing results, automatically you're going to want more results. So you're going to build momentum. But if you're 40 years old, and let's just say that you haven't been training for a while, maybe you trained, I don't know, you know, you trained in your early days and whatever, know that the game has changed for you. And what I mean by that is what worked when you're in your late 20s, early 30s is not going to work now, because most people think is the harder we train and the longer we train and the more workouts we do, the better the results. Less is more.
One of my great sayings, less is more, is a great, great saying.
Yeah, less is more. So like you've got to be able to do the minimum effective dose to elicit a result and then progress slowly over time, because as you get older, it takes longer to recover, which means your workouts need to be smarter. It means you need to focus on a select few exercises that, like we said before, that work with your body so that you know, works with your structure, your limbs and whatever, your mobility and what you can do, and progress from there. So it's less is more.
I love it.
And then overload over time. So, you know, always be strength training. Like, do the minimum effective dose, pick those exercises, do less volume, be more focused. So like really like focus on the exercise that you're doing with like mastery of technique and form, you know, and then like eat real food and recover. Like, keep it simple. Go back to basics. What would our ancestors do?
Yeah.
Well, they might fast throughout the morning. Great. Fast if you want. You know, they might optimize their energy levels through, you know, letting their body naturally wake up. They'll drink water and, you know, hydrate and maybe eat something later on so they can focus on what they need to and get work done, which is what like I learned early on as well.
Many good takeaways there. I know, Adrian, you are big into press ups. I've seen you do many press ups. I've discovered lately over the last few weeks that I've been doing press ups regularly. You may have seen the post on press ups, and I just find it a fantastic exercise. What's that one exercise that you like doing regularly? Just a one that really exercise you really enjoy, and it's that one exercise you do on a regular basis. What do you want to share that with our audience?
Okay, so firstly, I love walking. I walk like as many steps as I can do every day. I try to get out at least 3 times a day, just for like just general conditioning, just walking, and just love getting out. So like walking's always good, but from an actual exercise that I do every day, I do these full body extensions. Do you know what they are?
Yeah. Full body extensions. The whole body goes into doing different movements to extend the whole body in one go. That's fantastic. And you do that. When do you do that? First thing when you get up every morning?
I just do it like throughout the day. I do that with like some just some star jumps too, just to move.
Yeah. And you do that several times throughout the day. That's brilliant. That is brilliant.
And then just train, you know, with weights 4 times a week, and that's it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. How long would you say your workout is? How long would you work out, Adrian? And now you're 37. I'm thinking you're getting into your late 30s. Just to give it some context, how long would you work out for normally?
Maximum 40 minutes.
Perfect. Again, going back to what we said, very focused. Don't want to be there for ages. Less is more. You do good 40 minutes instead of faff about for a whole hour. Just get 40 minutes in, and that makes a lot of sense. Wow, we've definitely covered all the stuff, Adrian. It's been absolutely fantastic to get to see Adrian and some of your background and your past history. It's been an absolute pleasure, Adrian. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I'm sure people are going to love watching this. So thank you for your time.
Dude, heck, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute, I can't believe how time flies when you're getting into it, dude.
I could have been talking here for ages. It's absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much, Adrian.
Dude, you're welcome, man. Thank you.
Take care. Cheers.